Beneath the Nile Delta, an ancient gateway stirs after millennia of silence. It opens to Nyxari Prime, a luminous alien world 412 light-years away, where every word is spoken through the rhythm of the heart and pulses of living light. When Dr. Liora Vance, a human with a flawed heartbeat, finds her pulse perfectly matching that of Kael'ren, an alien exile, they become the only bridge between two divided worlds. But Earth's leaders see the gate as a weapon, and war is already on the horizon. Two hearts, one imperfect rhythm, the fate of civilizations hanging in the balance. O2, Nile Delta, Earth. The ground shook once, not like an earthquake. Like something waking up. Professor Daoud Mirage looked down into the trench. The carved stone they'd been digging out for weeks was glowing, bright, cold, alive. "Liora, get over here!" His voice cracked over the wind. Dr. Liora Vance ran too. The edge. Mud clung to her boots. Her pulse was already skipping, too fast, too uneven. Then she felt it. The glow was beating, in her chest, at the same time. "This isn't possible," she whispered. The light surged, blinding for a second. Wet soil peeled away as crystal panels rose from the ground. A low hum vibrated through, the air, deeper than sound, settling into her ribs. Daoud tapped his comm. "Control, we've got activation. Full activation." Alarms flared across the dig site. Red strobes cut through the mist. Sensor towers lit up with warning glyphs. The entire Nile Delta knew something massive had just come online. The panels shifted. A seam opened down the middle. Inside, pure white light, moving like it was breathing. Liora took one step closer. The hum followed her, matched her. Her heartbeat and the light became one. She didn't notice the rumble at first, but it grew, mechanical, heavy. Over the ridge, armored transports rolled in. Dust churned in their wake. The lead vehicle stopped hard and Colonel Jareth Solon stepped out. His voice carried like steel. "Seal the site," Daoud protested. "Colonel, this is an archaeological... It's a strategic asset now." His eyes flicked to the gate, then to Liora. "You! Step away!" The gate pulsed again, brighter, sharper, like it was answering him. Or her. Leora's breath caught. "It's connected to me." Solon's jaw tightened. "Then you're not going anywhere." The hum deepened, wrapping around her heartbeat until she couldn't tell where she ended and the light began, and for one sharp, dizzy moment, she knew the gate wasn't just opening. It was calling. The world around her blurred. All Liora could hear was the beat. Her beat, and the gates. It wasn't random. It was locked in with her own uneven rhythm. Two quick pulses, a pause, then a long thump. The same flawed pattern her cardiologist had warned her about since she was 18. Colonel Solon was still speaking, but the words were distant. Daoud grabbed her arm. "Liora, are you listening? Your vitals are spiking." She pulled free. "No, it's not hurting me." Her voice was low. "It's matching me." The gate's glow shifted, cycling through shades of white and pale gold. The pulses grew sharper, almost impatient. She felt the vibration through the soles of her boots, up her spine, into her jaw. Daoud frowned. "That's not possible. The frequency output is random." "It's not random to me." Solon stepped closer. His shadow cut across the mud between her and the gate. "If it's reacting to her, then she's the key," he said flatly. "Which means we move her into containment now." Leora's chest tightened, not from fear, but from the pressure in the air. The light flared brighter when Solon spoke, then dimmed when she exhaled. It was listening. To her. She tested it. One deep breath in. The glow swelled. She let it out slowly. The hum softened, like an answer. Daoud's eyes widened. "It's syncing with your respiration cycle." "And my heartbeat," she added. The colonel tapped his comm. "Get the med team here, full biometric scan." Liora ignored him. She stepped forward just one pace, boots sinking into the wet earth. The seam in the gate narrowed slightly, as if it were focusing. The air between them felt charged, alive. Her mind flashed with a question she couldn't explain. Why me? The hum shifted pitch, lower now, almost a note of reassurance. It wasn't words, but it was communication. She could feel it. Daoud called out sharply, "Liora, stop!" She froze, inches from the light, because in the glow, just for a moment, she thought she saw movement, a figure, tall, luminous, watching her from the other side. And then it was gone. The light inside the gate rippled, not random waves, structured patterns pulsing in tight sequences. Liora stared, trying to decode it with nothing but instinct. Her chest answered with its own rhythm. 2 quick beats, a pause, a long thump. The glow matched it exactly. Then, there, the shape returned. Not a trick of the light this time. A tall figure stepped forward inside the radiance, humanoid, but not human. Filaments of living fiber ran along its limbs, glowing and fading with each pulse. Its face was a lattice of light, features fluid, but focused. It stopped just inside the threshold, tilting its head in a distinctly curious way. The hum changed, sharper, faster. Leora's breath caught. She whispered, "You're real." The figure moved a hand, and lines of light streamed outward, stretching across the air toward her. They didn't touch, but they filled her vision, a complex weave of pulses and gaps. Daoud's voice trembled. "It's a language." Her mind clicked into work mode. "I think it's using its own heartbeat to talk." The pattern shifted, slowing, matching hers again. Then the filaments brightened and dimmed in a deliberate sequence. She closed her eyes, letting the rhythm wash over her. Her own heart stumbled to keep time. And then, impossibly, she understood. Not in words, but in intent. A single message. "Synchronize or no voice." Her eyes flew open. "It wants me to match it. To lock in." Solin's tone was sharp. "You're not doing anything until we—" But she'd already taken a step forward. The light intensified, patterns tightening. Waiting for her to join. She pressed her hand to her chest, focusing. 1 breath in. Hold. 2 quick beats. Pause. Long thump. The gate's glow surged in perfect sync. The figure, Kael'ren, though she didn't know the name yet, moved closer, just shy of the opening. The filaments along its form shimmered with something like relief. The hum deepened again, and she felt a flood of meaning. Not words, not images, but a door opening in her mind. For the first time, she felt him. Present. Listening. Waiting to speak. And then the white light flickered. Not from Kael'ren, but from a shadow moving in behind her. "Step away from the light." Colonel Jareth Solin's voice cut through the hum like a blade. Liora turned, heart still synced with the gate. "I can talk to it." "That's not your call." He strode down the embankment, boots sinking into the wet soil, flanked by 2 armored EOC troopers. The mist swirled around his silhouette, making him look even larger, more immovable. Daoud stepped between them. "Colonel, with all due respect, this is first contact. We should observe—" Solin didn't slow. "First contact is exactly why I'm here, and why you're both leaving. Now." The troopers raised compact disruptors, not aimed at the gate, but at the ground in front of Liora. A warning. Behind her, the glow shifted uneasily. Kael'ren's outline sharpened, the filaments along his form brightening as if in protest. The hum rose in pitch, agitated. Leora's voice was firm. "If you push this, you'll scare it off. Or worse." Solin's visor reflected the gate's light, hiding his eyes. What scares me is you thinking you're in control of this situation. Step back. The hum deepened, vibrating through the ground. Mud rippled in concentric rings at their feet. One of the troopers glanced at the colonel, clearly unsettled. Daoud tried again, quieter. Sir, if it's linked to her heartbeat, removing her suddenly might... Containment. Now. Solon's tone left no room for debate. Leora's chest tightened. The glow behind her pulsed once, hard, as if sensing the threat. She took a half step back toward it without thinking. The troopers moved in, and for a second, just a second, the light flared so bright it swallowed the mist, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When vision returned, Kael'ren was gone. The seam in the gate had closed to a thin, silent line. The hum faded, leaving only the sound of boots in mud and the colonel's clipped orders. Get her to the transport. The gate isn't going anywhere. But deep in her chest, Liora could still feel it. A faint, stubborn beat that wasn't her own. The transport's interior smelled of metal and wet fabric. Liora sat with her wrists on her knees, staring at, the faint glow still clinging to her skin. It was weaker now, but the rhythm was there, steady, matching hers. Across from her, Colonel Solon stood near the comm panel, speaking in clipped bursts. Yes, full lockdown. No unauthorized personnel within 5 kilometers. Orbital drones already inbound. Professor Daoud leaned toward her. They'll treat it like a threat now, he said quietly. Once the drones arrive, they'll test weaponized pulses on it. Her stomach turned. That could destroy the link. Solon turned at that. It could protect this planet. Daoud's tone sharpened. From what? We have no evidence it's hostile. Yet, Solon cut in. We also have no idea what it's capable of. My job is to make sure it doesn't become someone else's weapon before we understand it. Liora met his gaze. And my job is to understand it before you turn it into a war. The colonel's jaw worked, but he didn't answer. Instead, he tapped his comm. Bring them to command. Minutes later, they were in a stark operations tent, hollow screens projecting tactical overlays of the gate. Energy readings scrolled faster than Liora could track. At the center table, 2 new figures waited. EOC's diplomatic liaison, Commander Vera Holt, and Director Alim Chen from the Coalition Science Division. Holt wasted no time. If there's even a chance this structure leads to an inhabited system, we need a team through that gate before military escalation. Solon's glare was cold. We don't send civilians into unknown territory. This one isn't a civilian, Holt replied, nodding toward Liora. She's the only person it's responding to. If she doesn't go, we may never establish contact at all. Liora felt every eye in the tent on her. The faint pulse in her chest seemed louder than the generators outside. She spoke before doubt could catch her. I'll go. If the gate opens, again, I'll step through, and I'll bring back proof it isn't our enemy. Silence stretched. Then Holt nodded once. Approved. Small escort only. Scientific priority. Solon's voice was like frost. You'll have 48 hours. Then we lock it down for good. Liora didn't flinch, because somewhere beyond that white light, Kael'ren was waiting. 47. Khepri Gate Transit Platform, Earth, destination, Nyxari Prime, 412 light-years away. The gate was alive again, not pulsing in warning this time, steady, welcoming. Liora stood at the threshold, helmet in her left hand, pulse climbing in. Her chest. Every beat seemed to echo in the crystal lattice ahead. She glanced at Daoud. His eyes were wide, scanning the light patterns. Remember, he murmured. Stay calm. It's tuned to you. Colonel Solon stood behind them, arms crossed, visor, hiding his gaze. You have 48 hours, he reminded her. No more. The diplomatic escort, a 3-person EOC team, waited just inside the perimeter. But it was Liora the gate wanted. Everyone knew it. She took one breath, stepped forward. The world dissolved. It wasn't falling. It wasn't walking. It was being carried. Light wrapped around her like warm water, sliding over her skin, seeping into her bones. Her heartbeat synced with the glow, and each pulse sent her further into the tunnel of brilliance. She could feel the resonance key reading. Her. Adjusting, matching, adapting. Sound disappeared. Not silence, just the absence of anything except the low, steady hum inside her chest. She thought she caught glimpses in the light, flowing rivers, arcs of stars, a figure turning toward her, Kael'ren, before it melted back into gold. Her breath didn't seem necessary, yet she drew one in and felt the glow swell in response. Then, contact. Her boots touched solid ground. The air changed. Lighter, cooler. She opened her eyes. Nyxari Prime. The sky was not blue, not purple, but a shifting blend of pale teal and silver, like sunlight under deep water. Towers of living fiber rose from the valley floor, each one breathing, expanding, slightly contracting, glowing faintly at the tips. The ground under her feet was firm yet springy, covered in a mesh of bioluminescent threads that shifted gently under her weight. She exhaled, stunned. "It's alive," she whispered. Daoud emerged from the light beside her, staring up in disbelief. "The whole city, it's organic." Their escort followed, scanning with handheld readers. Data feeds lit up, but the numbers barely mattered, compared to the sight before them. And then she saw him. Kael'ren stood at the edge of the arrival platform, filaments along his form glowing in the same rhythm as her chest. His head tilted, that same curious gesture she'd seen through the gate. The hum in her body deepened. She didn't need words to know. He was here for her. One of the EOC guards muttered, "We've got movement. 12 o'clock." Liora ignored them and stepped forward. The city's light shifted around Kael'ren, parting like a curtain to reveal the path ahead. He raised a hand, not in greeting, but in invitation. The glow between them tightened, brightened. Behind her, Solan's voice was cold. "Stay with the team, Doctor." She didn't turn back. Because everything in her, her heartbeat, her breath, her very skin, was already moving toward him. The path from the arrival platform curved gently upward, flanked by living towers that glowed from within. Each structure breathed, an almost imperceptible expansion and contraction, like the inhale and exhale of a sleeping giant. Liora walked beside Kael'ren, her steps falling into the same quiet rhythm as his. The filaments along his arms pulsed in harmony with her chest, and the connection felt steady, calmer than on Earth. She spoke softly. "This entire place, it's alive, isn't it?" Kael'ren's head inclined in a slow nod. His voice didn't come as sound. It came as a vibration through the link between them, translated into words by the pulse lingua unit strapped to her forearm. "Not alive like you. Alive like light in a river. It flows. It changes." As they walked, the city opened before her. The conquered spire rose in the distance, a central tower woven from countless strands of luminous fiber, spiraling upward until it vanished into the shimmering sky. Bridges of the same living material extended outward in every direction, connecting to smaller spires. Daoud, trailing a few paces behind, was already scanning the air with his instruments. Ambient bioluminescence. No distinct power sources. The structures themselves generate and distribute energy. Kael'ren slowed, gesturing for Liora to follow his gaze. A cluster of Nyxari children, smaller, their filaments softer and dimmer, were weaving new fibers into the wall of a nearby dwelling. Each movement caused the surrounding threads to shift color, creating an intricate pattern that pulsed with faint music. Liora couldn't help but smile. They're building with light. We grow what we need, Kael'ren replied. The city breathes with us, remembers us, changes for us. As they moved closer to the spire, she noticed the ground itself reacting to their steps. Threads, beneath the surface, brightening and darkening in time with their heartbeats. It wasn't just architecture. It was a living record of presence. From a high terrace, she caught her first full view of the inner districts, great circular plazas where Nyxari gathered, their combined pulses creating waves of light that rolled across the open space. Above, slender aerial creatures with translucent wings drifted between the spires, carrying strands of glowing fiber in their legs. Daoud's voice broke the moment. This level of integration between biology and infrastructure, it's beyond anything in the Coalition archives. Solon, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Or it's a vulnerability. Imagine if someone severed those fibers. Kael'ren's glow dimmed slightly at that, but he said nothing. The spire's base loomed ahead. Its entrance was a vast arch where threads of light converged like a river into a narrow channel. As they approached, the fibers shifted hue, from pale gold to a deeper, resonant blue that seemed to hum in her chest. Liora stepped inside and felt the air change again. Cooler, denser, carrying the faint scent of mineral and ozone. She realized the interior wasn't solid. It was a hollow spiral, light flowing upward along the walls like a constant tide. Kael'ren turned to her. The Concord waits. You will hear both voices. She frowned. Both voices. Those who welcome you, and those who do not. The chamber inside the Concord spire was vast and open, its walls woven from dense layers of living fiber. Light rippled across them in slow waves, reflecting the mood of those within. Two semicircles of Nyxari faced each other across the floor. On the left, the Nyxari Concord glowed in softer hues, warm golds, pale greens. On the right, the Shard. Faction burned brighter, their filaments spiking in sharp bursts of white and crimson. Kael'ren led Liora to the center dais. Daoud and the EOC escort remained near the entrance, watched closely by Nyxari sentinels. A Concord elder stepped forward, light pulsing evenly with each movement. The gate has chosen resonance with this human. We should honor it. Use it to open dialogue. The Shard leader's glow flared in reply. Or the gate has been tampered with. We should close it before the humans push through with soldiers. Liora could feel the room's energy tightening. Every change in tone sent a subtle vibration through the floor, up her legs, into her chest. It was impossible not to respond to it. One Shard warrior stepped forward, voice sharp. We have fought over these corridors before. Have you forgotten the burned spheres? The Concord elder's hue shifted toward a warning orange. And have you forgotten who started that war? It was fear, fear without reason. Kael'ren glanced at Liora, then spoke for the first time. She is not here with weapons. She came because the gate called her. The Shard leader's glow dimmed to a cold blue. A convenient story. His gaze slid to Liora. Tell me, human, how many soldiers will follow you if we let you stay? Her throat was dry, but she forced herself to meet his gaze. None. I'm here to listen. If I leave with nothing but fear, you'll get the war you're trying to prevent. The chamber's light shifted, many filaments flickering in uncertainty. The Concord elder inclined their head toward her. Let her prove her intent. Give her time to learn our rhythm. Murmurs, low pulses of light, passed through both sides. Finally, the Shard leader stepped back. 3 cycles. If she fails to earn the Concord, we close the gate. Kael'ren's filaments steadied, matching hers. Then we begin. The chamber lights dimmed, signaling the end of the session. Liora felt the hum in her chest deepen, pulling her attention toward Kael'ren. She realized the next step wouldn't be words. It would be resonance. Kael'ren led Liora out of the Concord chamber into a quieter section of the spire. The corridors. Here were narrower, walls made of soft, breathing fibers that glowed faintly with each footstep. He stopped in a round chamber lit from below, the floor patterned with concentric rings of light. Here. We match. Liora stepped into the center. How? Kael'ren placed a hand over his chest. The filaments along his form brightened and dimmed in a slow rhythm. Breathe with me. Let the heart follow. She inhaled. The glow under her feet warmed. Exhaled. The light cooled. Again. Her chest rose and fell, trying to match him. But her heartbeat stumbled, that familiar skip breaking the flow. She sighed. It won't stay steady. It never has. Kael'ren tilted his head, glow softening. It is steady to you. That is enough. They began again. Inhale. Light swells. Exhale. Light falls. The hum in the floor shifted, aligning with their combined rhythm. For a moment, she forgot the soldiers, the politics, the gate. There was only this, breathing, matching, feeling the glow in her chest merge with his. Why does this matter so much to your people? She asked quietly. Because without rhythm, there is no voice. The pulse lingua translated his words, but she could feel the meaning beyond them, an emotional undertone, like warmth carried on a current. He stepped closer, the tips of his filaments brushing the air near her shoulder. Now, listen. The floor's hum deepened, and a new layer of sound emerged, soft, melodic pulses. Her heartbeat began to follow it naturally, no conscious effort. Liora smiled, a little surprised. It's working, because you stopped trying to control it. Their eyes met, hers reflecting the pale gold of his glow. Something unspoken passed between them, something that wasn't just about resonance or language. Then, abruptly, the chamber's light flickered. Kael'ren's glow sharpened in concern. What is it? The spire's memory is stirring, he said. Someone is searching the vines. Memory vines? He nodded once, already moving toward the corridor. If they find what I think they will, this rhythm will not be enough to stop what comes next. Kael'ren moved quickly through the dim corridor, Liora close behind. The hum of the spire grew louder, more erratic. They emerged into a chamber unlike any she'd seen, its walls draped in thick strands of translucent fiber, each one pulsing faintly, carrying motes of light along their length. The memory vines, Kael'ren said, his voice low. Every cycle they take in what we are. They remember everything. Liora stepped closer. The fibers vibrated faintly as her presence neared, light shifting from pale blue to amber. She reached out, fingertips brushing the surface. The world changed. She was no longer in the spire. She stood in an endless void, crisscrossed by brilliant corridors of light, Helios corridor, but they were fractured, shards drifting away into darkness. Figures moved through the light. Nyxari ships, human-shaped silhouettes. Others she didn't recognize. Then came the pulses, rapid, jagged. The corridors buckled, shattering in waves of blinding white. Entire worlds, glimpsed for seconds, winked out like dying stars. A voice, not Kael'ren's, echoed inside her skull. Resonance lost. War inevitable. She staggered back, breaking contact. The chamber's real light swam back into focus. Her breath was sharp, chest tight. That was... She began. Kael'ren's glow was dim now. The last time the gates We're open to many worlds. They used them for war, for conquest, until the rhythm was broken. And you think... She swallowed. You think it could happen again? If fear wins? If we fail to keep balance? Footsteps echoed in the hall, heavy, deliberate. Colonel Solon appeared in the archway, flanked by 2 EOC soldiers. His tone was ice. You've seen enough. We're done here. Leora's gaze locked on Kael'ren. The vines behind him pulsed once, slow, steady, as if warning her. She realized the decision had already been made. The question now was whose? 14:12. Nyxari Prime. Arrival perimeter. The air shimmered near the gate. Not with light this time, with movement. Liora stepped onto the platform just as the first Threnody drone broke through. It was small, barely the size of her. Torso, its matte black surface absorbing the golden glow of Nyxari Prime, but the hum it carried was wrong, off rhythm. 2 more followed, gliding low over the platform. Their sensor vanes unfolded like insect wings, and at once the air was filled with a piercing, rhythmic pulse. Not fast, not loud, but destabilizing, like a false heartbeat injected into the ground. Liora winced, pressing a hand to her chest. The familiar steady sync she'd held with Kael'ren fractured. He staggered beside her, filaments along his arms flickering wildly. "What is this?" "Not me," she gasped. "It's them." From the far end of the platform, Colonel Jareth. Solon stepped forward, flanked by EOC troopers. His voice was calm. "Stand clear. This is a controlled operation." Kael'ren's glow flared with anger. "You bring weapons to our world. Non-lethal deterrence," Solon replied, "designed to interrupt hostile synchronization." The pulses intensified. Around the perimeter, Nyxari civilians collapsed to their knees, clutching their chests. The bioluminescent threads in the platform dimmed, their once harmonic flow breaking into erratic flashes. Liora pushed forward, glaring at Solon. "You're destabilizing the whole network." "Necessary," he cut in. "Conquered won't. Control the gate forever. We need safeguards." Kael'ren moved to shield her, his voice sharp. "This is an act of war." Solon didn't flinch. "Only if they choose to see it that way." Another drone slid past overhead, its emitter vanes. Rotating, the pulse changed again, now faster, harsher. Leora's knees buckled. The link between her and Kael'ren snapped entirely, leaving her chest hollow. The platform's surrounding towers reacted instantly, threads recoiling, colors bleeding from gold to jagged red. Across the city, echoes of the disruption spread, like ripples in water. Daoud's voice came over her calm, panicked. "Liora, Concord's pulse arrays are going offline. You need to stop them before the whole capital loses rhythm." She staggered toward Solon. "Call them back." He raised a hand, signaling the drones to hover. "This ends when I'm sure Nyxari Prime can't weaponize the gate against Earth." Kael'ren's tone was ice. "Then you have already made your choice." From beyond the platform, the horizon shifted. An incoming wave of brighter, sharper light. Not the Concord's steady gold, but the cold, blade-like glow of the Shard faction. They were coming, and Liora knew. Whatever Solon thought he was preventing, he had just set in motion. The first Shard vessels cut through the haze above the valley, sleek, angular, and lit in jagged patterns of cold blue and white. Their light was nothing like the Concord's warm gold. This was the light of a blade drawn in the dark. Liora stood at the edge of the platform, her chest still aching from the drone pulses. Kael'ren's glow was steady now, but tight, controlled fury. From the lead ship, a projection burst into the air, the towering form of Commander Varric Solar, leader of the Shard faction. His voice came not as sound, but as a hard vibration in every bone. Earth has crossed the threshold. This cannot go unanswered. Concord envoys stepped forward, their glow calm but tense. We will address this intrusion through council. Council? Varric's tone was sharp enough to cut the air. While their machines shatter our rhythm, while our people collapse in the streets? Liora moved forward before she could think. If you retaliate now, you'll make the war they're afraid of inevitable. Varric's gaze locked on her. Human. They have already declared it. You stand here because the gate chose you. Tell me, will you stand with them? Or with us? The question hit harder than she expected. She looked to Kael'ren, but his expression didn't change. Colonel Solan's voice came over the comm, low and controlled. Stay out of this, Doctor. This is above you, her jaw tightened. It's exactly about me and him. She nodded toward Kael'ren. The Shard commander leaned closer in the projection, the cold light flaring. Earth will answer. In their cities, in their skies. Unless the Concord cedes the gate to our control. Gasps and low pulses rippled. Through the Nyxari crowd, Concord leaders exchanged urgent glances. Kael'ren stepped forward, his voice like stone. If you cross that line, Varric, you'll bring ruin on both worlds. Better ruin than submission. The projection blinked out, leaving the air colder. In the distance, Shard ships shifted formation, predatory, waiting. The Concord's golden glow dimmed, caught between two storms, and Liora knew. The balance had just tilted. The city's glow was unstable now, threads of light twitching and breaking like frayed nerves. The hum beneath Leora's feet was no longer the steady tide she'd grown used to. It came in uneven surges, sharp and jarring. Kael'ren caught her arm as another pulse from the Shard fleet rolled through the air. Stay with me, focus. She tried. She really did. Closing her eyes, she drew in a breath, searching for his rhythm. Inhale. Exhale. 1 beat. 2. Then the false pulse from the Threnody drones slammed through again, cutting across them like static over a song. Her chest spasmed. The link broke. She gasped, staggering back, hand clutching her sternum. I can't. It's gone. Kael'ren's filaments dimmed. You're letting their noise take you? Anger flared, at him, at herself. I'm not letting anything. I can't hear you over this. The drone's interference wasn't just breaking the city's harmony. It was inside her now, like a second heartbeat she couldn't shut out. Every attempt to reach for his signal ended in the same jagged void. Daoud's voice came over her. Calm. Urgent. Liora. The Concord is losing sync with the planetary arrays. If they can't stabilize soon, the gate will fail. Her throat tightened. If the gate collapsed now, the Shard would blame Earth. Earth would blame the Nyxari. And the war she'd been sent to prevent would ignite because she couldn't hold a rhythm. Kael'ren stepped closer, but she turned away. Maybe I was never the right choice, she said quietly. The gate chose you. And maybe it was wrong. The words burned on her tongue, but they were already out. She felt the emptiness where his steady pulse should have been, a hollow silence that made her chest ache more than the disruption itself. Outside, the sky was flashing with alternating gold and blue, Concord and Shard signals colliding in the upper atmosphere. The light was beautiful and violent at the same time. Liora pressed a hand to the wall of the spire. The fibers there barely responded, their dim flicker a reminder of her failure. Kael'ren's voice was softer now. Then we find another way back to each other. Before the noise wins. She didn't answer. Not yet. Because right now, all she could hear was the broken rhythm in her own chest. The chamber of the memory vines was darker than before, the fibers along the walls pulsing in weak, irregular patterns. Liora stepped inside alone, the air thick with a faint metallic scent. Her fingers hovered over the nearest strand. Last time, she'd seen fragments of a war, chaotic, incomplete. Now, she needed more. She pressed her palm to the vine. The world tilted. Light corridors unfolded around her, stretching in every direction. She floated among them, each thread a living memory. The hum here was clean, untainted by the drone interference outside. A voice, calm, layered, rose within her mind. Synchronization broken. She saw it clearly now. Not the gate starting the war, but people, human and Nyxari, forcing syncs that didn't match. Using brute resonance to seize control of multiple corridors at once. Every forced connection twisted the network, bending the flow until it snapped. Worlds were cut off, some destroyed entirely, not by the corridors themselves, but by those who abused them. The vision shifted to a council chamber. Nyxari leaders argued, their light jagged with fear. Human envoys shouted back, data streams in their hands like weapons. No one was listening. Then came the collapse. Entire routes went dark. The network folded in on itself, leaving only isolated fragments. The final image burned into her mind, a lone gate, pulsing weakly, holding on. Her eyes snapped open. She was back in the chamber, breath sharp. Kael'ren stood in the doorway, watching. You saw it. Yes. Her voice was steady now. The gates weren't the danger. We were, both of us. His glow softened. Then you know what must be done. Outside, the hum of the drones still pressed against the city, but the fear in her chest had shifted. No longer the fear of not being enough, but of wasting time. She stepped past him. We need a standard, a shared rhythm, or we'll repeat the same history. The council chamber was crowded. Concord elders on one side, EOC representatives on the other, each group casting long shadows in the glow of the spire. The tension was thick enough to feel in the air. Liora stood in the center, every eye on her. Her pulse was steady now, not perfect, but hers. She began without preamble. We can't stop the noise by force, not without breaking everything. The only way forward is a shared rhythm. A murmur of shifting light passed through the Concord. Colonel Solin's jaw tightened. Explain. She met his gaze. A protocol. One frequency. One pattern both our species can hold without distortion. Every gate keyed to it. No one moves through without it. One shard envoy scoffed. You expect warriors to match their heartbeats to yours? I expect them to match it to ours, she said, tapping her chest, then gesturing to Kael'ren. To a neutral standard, a harmonic concord. Kael'ren stepped forward, his glow steady and deliberate. It can be done. The vines will hold the pattern once established. Solin folded his arms. And who decides the pattern? Who enforces it? Both sides, Liora replied. Shared control, shared risk. No one can weaponize the gate without breaking the pact, and breaking it will be visible to everyone. The Concord elder closest to her pulsed a slow, thoughtful gold. It would require trust. Yes. And transparency, she said. We don't have to like each other. We just have to stay in time. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then the elder looked at Solin. Will Earth agree? Solin's visor reflected the golden light. He didn't answer right away. Finally, draw it up. We'll review. It wasn't a promise, but it wasn't a refusal. Liora exhaled, feeling Kael'ren's rhythm touch hers again, faint but certain. For the first time since the drones arrived, the noise seemed just a little quieter. 30. Council Hall, the Concord Spire, Nyxari Prime. The chamber was lit in calm gold, the Concord's chosen hue for diplomacy. Tall spirals of living fiber, arched overhead, their slow pulse meant to steady the room's rhythm. It wasn't working. Liora could feel the undercurrent, Subtle shifts in the glow, a faint tension in the floor's hum. Every Nyxari present was keeping their pulse in check, but just barely. On one side, the Concord elders stood in flowing arcs of light. On the other, the EOC delegation, Colonel Jareth Solon at the front, his posture like a locked gate. Kael'ren was beside her, his glow steady. But the angle of his shoulders told her he was ready for a fight, if it came. The Concord's lead elder stepped forward, their hue warm. We accept the principle of a shared rhythm. The harmonic concord will be established, murmurs rippled through the chamber. For a moment, Liora let herself breathe. This could work. Then Solon spoke. Earth will agree, on one condition. Every Nyxari in the room shifted slightly, their light dimming. The elder inclined their head. State it. All synchronization. Protocols, Solon said, voice sharp and precise, will be monitored by a joint security unit, led by EOC command. Leora's breath caught. That's not... He didn't look at her. Any breach of rhythm will be met with immediate intervention. Drones, if necessary. The Concord's glow cooled to a wary amber. You ask for trust while keeping your hand on the blade. It's not a blade, Solon replied evenly. It's insurance. Kael'ren's filaments flared. Insurance that destroys the very harmony you claim to protect. Solon's visor turned toward him. Harmony without control is chaos. I've seen what happens when you let it run free. Liora stepped forward, the hum of the floor responding to her presence. If you embed weapons into this system, you make it impossible for either side to believe in it. His voice dropped lower. And if I don't, Earth walks blind into whatever the Shard decides to do next. The elder's tone was slow, deliberate. We will not sign an agreement that gives you the right to disrupt our hearts. The silence that followed was heavy. Liora could feel the rhythm in the room starting to fracture, tiny skips, missed beats. Solon's gaze swept the chamber, landing on her for the briefest moment. There was no anger in it, only calculation. Finally, he nodded once. Then we're at an impasse. The elder replied, we will consider your terms, but no Threnody will enter Nyxari space during the review. Solon didn't answer. He simply turned toward the exit, his troopers falling in behind him. As the EOC delegation left, the Concord's glow steadied again, but not enough to calm the unease curling in Leora's stomach. She glanced at Kael'ren. His light was calm, but his voice in her mind was not. He will not wait for their answer. She knew he was right. And whatever Solon was planning, it wouldn't happen in the open. When 42, arrival platform, the Concord Spire, Nyxari. Prime. The gold of the Concord's skyline shimmered under a high sun. From the terrace outside the council hall, Liora watched Solon's delegation make their way toward the transport pads. On the surface, it looked routine, an orderly withdrawal after tense talks. Kael'ren's gaze followed the soldiers. Too neat, he murmured. Too quiet, she agreed. Her calm pinged. Daoud's voice hushed but urgent. Liora, you need to get to the platform now. EOC containers just cleared security without inspection. Her pulse spiked. What's in them? A pause. Drone signatures. Threnody class. She was already moving. The platform loomed ahead, its living fiber floor glowing faintly in the Concord's warm hue. But near the center, 3 matte black crates sat open, their lids propped like wings. Inside, sleek ovoid bodies of Threnody drones, emitter vanes folded tight. Solon stood beside them, hands clasped behind his back. His visor tracked her approach. You said no Threnody, Liora snapped. I said no deployment, he corrected. These are contingency. Kael'ren stepped forward, his glow hardening to cold blue. Contingency is a word for cowards, Solin's voice didn't change. Contingency is what keeps Earth alive. Without warning, his wrist control flashed. The drones rose silently into the air, veins unfolding with a smooth click. Leora's breath hitched. Solin, don't... The first pulse rolled out, low, resonant, wrong. The platform's golden glow stuttered. Farther into the city, towers flickered, their steady breath breaking into ragged gasps of light. Nyxari nearby staggered, clutching their chests. The hum beneath Leora's feet fractured, turning to sharp, jarring beats that jarred her own rhythm. Kael'ren reeled, dropping to one knee. You will tear the spire apart. Solin didn't move. Better a spire in pieces than an Earth under siege. Liora stepped between him and the drones. You're triggering exactly what the Shard wants. They'll take this as an attack. They already have their attack ready. Solin cut in. I'm making sure we hit first. Another pulse. Blasted through the platform, stronger this time. The gold drained from the surrounding fibers, replaced by jagged red. From above, alarms flared across the spire's terraces. Concord sentinels moved in, their lights flaring in defensive patterns. Kael'ren forced himself to stand, the glow along his frame flickering but unbroken. Call them off, Solin. Now! Solin's visor tilted slightly. You're not in command here. Daoud's voice cracked in Leora's ear. Shard ships are moving. Fast. Whatever he's doing. It's the spark. Liora lunged for Solin's wrist control. He sidestepped almost lazily, but Kael'ren was already there, one filamented arm hooking Solin back. 2 EOC troopers moved in, weapons half-raised. Concord guards surged forward, biolight flaring, and the platform exploded into chaos. The drones kept pulsing. The rhythm was wrong, violent, eating into every heartbeat within reach. Liora felt her chest seize, the connection to Kael'ren slipping, like water through her fingers. She shouted over the din. Solin! If the network collapses, the gate goes with it. Earth loses everything. For the first time, he hesitated. Just a fraction. Then a blast of cold light tore across the horizon. Shard ships breached the perimeter, their weapons armed. But not yet firing, waiting to see who would make the next move. Kael'ren's voice cut through the pounding hum. You already made it. And in that moment, Liora knew the negotiation was dead. The war had just begun. 4. The Concord Spire Control Atrium, Nyxari Prime. The alarms never stopped. They layered over one another, high, low, staccato, until they became a single deafening roar in Leora's head. The control atrium's walls of living crystal throbbed in panicked light. Patterns that had flowed in graceful symmetry now splintered into erratic bursts. On the central dais, the resonance map spun like a wounded star. Filaments of gold and white, representing the synchronized heartbeats across the Helios corridor, blinked, out in clusters. Kael'ren's glow was dim, his filaments trembling. It's spreading. Not just the spire. The outer gates are collapsing into static. Daoud's hands flew across the biolight console. Every gate link on this side of the corridor is misaligned. Khepri's readings are... He stopped, looked up. His eyes said it all. Liora swallowed. It's gone, isn't it? He nodded once. If we lose full coherence, the corridor will shear itself apart. The floor shuddered, deep, resonant. Kael'ren caught the rail to steady himself. Shard, ships are holding fire, but their rhythms are in chaos too. They'll think it's a Concord failure, or an attack. Leora's chest tightened, not from fear alone, but from the strain. Her heart's natural rhythm was already fragile. Now, it was being yanked in every direction at once. She pressed her palm to her sternum, focusing on keeping her breath steady. Solin strode into the atrium, 2 guards at his back. This is what happens when you leave defense in alien hands. Liora turned on him. You caused this. He didn't. Flinch. I prevented a worse outcome. The shard would have struck first. Kael'ren's voice was low, dangerous. You have no idea what you've unleashed. Before Solon could reply, the entire atrium went dark. For a moment, silence, except for the shallow, ragged breaths of everyone present. Then a sound. A slow, uneven beat. The Kong Khepri's core rhythm, but twisted, fractured into jagged pieces. The resonance map flickered back to life. The golden filaments were almost gone, replaced by a web of cold, pale light, the signature of unsynchronized pulses. Leora's vision blurred at the edges. She clutched the edge of the dais. It's everywhere. Concord, Shard, EOC, all off-beat. Daoud's tone was grim. We're looking at total collapse within the hour. Once the corridor's harmonic scaffold fails, there won't be any way to reopen it without a full rebuild. Kael'ren's glow flared briefly, then dimmed again. That's centuries of isolation. Trade gone, aid gone, no peace, only war. Outside the atrium's vast windows, the sky over Nyxari Prime tore into streaks of unnatural color. The disruption was visible now. Waves of distortion bending light, warping entire sections of the horizon. Shard warships drifted closer, their formations breaking apart as captains struggled to maintain internal synchronization. EOC vessels. Above the spire flickered in and out of coherent phasing, everywhere the same chaos. Liora forced herself upright, locking eyes with Solon. We can still stop it. But only if you stand down and let me and Kael'ren reset the Khepri sequence. Solon's jaw tightened. You expect me to hand over control to him? Kael'ren stepped forward, glow faint but steady. I don't want your control. I want your survival. The ground shook again, harder this time. A fracture of pure white light lanced upward from the far horizon, one of the outer gates shattering under the strain. Daoud's voice trembled. That's the Orin threshold. It's gone. A fresh wave of panic swept through the atrium. Concord. Sentinels and EOC soldiers both shouted over one another, their own heartbeats loud and uneven in the fraying rhythm net. Liora looked at the resonance map one last time. She didn't need the numbers to see the truth. The Helios corridor was unraveling. 27. Core chamber of the Khepri Gate. Nyxari Prime. The core chamber was alive. Not in the way a machine lives, but in the way a storm breathes. Columns of crystal and biolight arched toward a ceiling lost in shadow. Every surface pulsed in erratic color, reds flaring, then collapsing into icy blues. The floor trembled under the uneven thud of the gate's fractured heart. Kael'ren staggered to the control ring. His glow was almost gone, filaments dull like dying embers. It has to be me. My rhythm's already broken, perfect to buffer the collapse. Leora's breath caught. No, that could kill you. He gave her a faint, lopsided smile. If I don't, the corridor dies. And so do we all. Solon's voice cut in from the entry ramp. We should be evacuating, not playing hero. Liora spun toward him. If the gate collapses, there's nowhere to evacuate to. Daoud was already working the Pulse Lingua console, his hands a blur over the shimmering interface. Kael'ren's right. His unique phase drift could stabilize the distortion long enough for a manual reset. The chamber shook again, harder. A splinter of crystal fell from above, shattering against the floor in a flash of light. Kael'ren stepped into the resonance field, a halo of shifting light at the gate's core. The field flared on contact, threads of white snaking around his limbs. His body arched, breath sharp. Leora's heart clenched. She could feel the shift through her own pulse, the way his rhythm bent itself into the chaos. The gate's violent. Throbbing slowed, but it was still unstable. Daoud looked up from the console. It's not enough. We need a second anchor, something human, to lock the phase alignment. Kael'ren's gaze found hers. Liora, it has to be you. Her mouth went dry. She'd always known her own heart was fragile, unpredictable. Sinking it to an alien phase could be lethal. She took one step forward, then another. Solon grabbed her arm. "You're not risking yourself for this," she yanked free. "This is the only way." The moment she entered the field, the world dropped away. She felt Kael'ren's rhythm, not as sound, but as light, flowing into hers. His beat was uneven, fractured. Hers was shallow, too fast. But together, they began to find a bridge. Pain came next. A deep, pulling ache in her chest, as if something inside was being rewired. She gasped, vision swimming with gold and silver flashes. Kael'ren's voice was in her head now, soft but urgent. "Stay with me. Don't fight it." She focused on the light between them. Let it guide her breath. One beat, then another. Slowly, impossibly, their rhythms began to align. Two broken patterns weaving into a single, imperfect harmony. Outside, the field. Daoud's console readings shifted from red to amber. The wild pulses of the gate steadied, like a fever breaking. Solon stood frozen, watching the impossible happen. The pain in Liora's chest dulled into something else. Warmth, fierce, and steady. She realized Kael'ren had given more than just his rhythm. He was shielding her, absorbing the distortion's worst impacts. His glow flared once, brilliant and blinding. The gate's heartbeat locked into a steady, unified pulse. Liora opened her eyes. Kael'ren's light was faint again, but his smile was real. "It's holding," Daoud breathed, "but only for a little while. We have minutes, maybe less, to finish the reset." Kael'ren's voice was ragged. "Then let's not waste them." 33. Core chamber of the Khepri Gate, The gate's heartbeat was steady, but fragile. Every tremor in the crystal walls felt like a reminder. This balance could shatter any second. Liora's fingers were still laced with Kael'ren's glow inside the resonance field. Their pulses ran together now, two imperfect rhythms, bound into something that worked. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Professor Daoud's voice echoed from the console. "We can shape this. Use pulse lingua to lock the pattern." Liora's mind raced. "A translation algorithm. For heartbeats." "Not." "Just translation," Daoud said, his eyes alight. "Imprint. Make your combined rhythm the template. The gate will follow it like a conductor's baton." She looked at Kael'ren. His breathing was shallow, his light flickering. "You still with me?" A faint smile. "Always." Daoud's hands danced over the interface, summoning the pulse lingua. Core, a sphere of holographic symbols hovering above the console. "I'll need one of you to feed the rhythm in real time. The other holds it steady inside the field." Kael'ren's gaze locked on Liora's. "You anchor, I'll feed." Before she could argue, he pressed a glowing hand to the pulse lingua core. The air hummed, low and resonant, as the sphere began to mimic their heartbeat, light and sound braided together in a hypnotic loop. The gate responded. The crystal columns stopped trembling. The light along the floor panels began to ripple outward in perfect even waves. It was working. Then Solon's voice snapped through the chamber. "Enough! Shut it down!" Liora turned, disbelief sharp in her chest. "What?" "This is Nyxari tech under Earth control," Solon said coldly. "We don't hand over operational authority to aliens, or civilians." Daoud froze, his hands hovering above the console. "You'll kill the corridor," Liora said. "I'll secure it," Solon shot back. "On our terms, the EOC will dictate who moves through this gate." Kael'ren's glow dimmed further, his voice a rasp. "You don't understand. The gate doesn't obey. It harmonizes. Break the song, and it collapses." Solon stepped toward the console. I said, "Shut it down." A sharp tone cut through the chamber. Concord guards, flanked by Nyxari delegates, filled the entry ramp. Leading them was Envoy Liora, eyes blazing. "This operation is under Concord authority," Liora said, her voice like a blade. "Colonel Solon, you are relieved of command." Solon's jaw tightened. "You don't have that authority." "I do now," she said, holding up a signed Concord EOC, Joint Order. "Ratified 20 minutes ago." Two guards stepped forward. Solon's hand twitched toward his sidearm, then stilled. He allowed them to escort him out, his glare fixed on Liora until the chamber doors sealed behind him. The moment he was gone, Daoud's voice cut in. "Focus. We have less than 90 seconds before the stabilization window closes." Liora tightened her grip on Kael'ren's arm. "Ready?" His glow brightened just a little. "Let's finish this." Daoud initiated the harmonic lock sequence. The pulse lingua core expanded, its light spilling into the resonance field like liquid gold. The beat of Liora and Kael'ren's hearts pulsed through it, steady, unyielding. The gate drank it in, light cascaded up the crystal columns. The floor's ripples became concentric waves, racing outward to the chamber walls. The air vibrated, with a sound that was both music and thunder. Liora felt it deep in her bones. The alignment wasn't just mechanical, it was alive, aware, like the gate itself recognized them. Then came the surge. A column of pure white shot from the gate's core to the ceiling, refracting through every facet until the whole chamber blazed. The Helios corridor beyond flickered into clarity, stars, planets, and streams of light stretching farther than she could see. Daoud's console chimed 3 short tones. "Khepri Gate locked. Corridor stable." Relief flooded her. Kael'ren's hand squeezed hers once before he slumped to his knees. She caught him, feeling the faint but steady beat under her palm. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," his eyes seemed to say. Liora stepped forward, her voice softer now. "The Concord owes you both a debt beyond measure, and perhaps so does Earth." Liora glanced at the glowing core of the gate. For the first time in hours, it looked peaceful. Let's hope they remember that. 45. The Concord Spire, Nyxari Prime. The Hall of Luminous Accord shimmered with threads of living light, each strand pulsing in slow harmony. It was the only place in the galaxy where human breath mingled with Nyxari resonance, where every step echoed in 2 rhythms at once. Dr. Liora Vance stood at the base of the dais, her pulse steady but electric. She could feel Kael'ren beside her, the faint glow of his fibered skin spilling into her peripheral vision. Today wasn't a summit. It wasn't a negotiation. It was the moment the galaxy would remember as the day the Khepri Accord was born. Colonel Jareth Solon stood opposite her, shoulders squared, uniform crisp, eyes sharp. He scanned the chamber the way a soldier scans a battlefield. Not for beauty, but for threats. Behind him, the EOC delegation murmured in hushed channels, their words hidden beneath the hum of the pulse lingua interface. Professor Daoud Mirage adjusted the ceremonial scroll in his hands. Not paper, but a woven braid of memory vines, each strand containing the encoded signatures of every signatory. A treaty you could literally feel under your fingers. The Nyxari Prime delegation stepped forward, their bodies rippling with bioluminescent speech. Concord elders formed a semicircle around the dais, their glow deepening into the formal hue of commitment. The pulse lingua translated, but the air carried more than words. It carried history. "Let this be the cord," Elder Vare intoned, "that bridges breath to light." Kael'ren's gaze flicked to Liora. She gave the faintest nod. It was time. Daoud stepped forward, extending the memory vines toward the first human signatory. Colonel Solon hesitated, just long enough for the pause to be felt, then pressed, his palm to the braid. The vine lit with a white pulse, absorbing his biosignature into the interwoven archive. Liora's turn came next. She placed her hand gently on the vine, feeling the faint thrum beneath its surface. Her own irregular rhythm, the flaw that had saved them all, shimmered into the accord. The glow that answered her touch was not uniform. It bent, curved, adapted, and the Nyxari elder's eyes widened. One by one, human and Nyxari. Signatures flowed into the braid. The vine's color spectrum deepened, moving from pure white into a layered prism that seemed to breathe. Then came the unlocking. A soft tone rolled through the chamber as the resonance key no longer held. In secret, it was placed in its pedestal. Lights from the ceiling swept downward, finding the braided treaty and linking it to the key. Somewhere far across the stars, the Khepri stirred. The ancient gateway did not flare open in spectacle. Instead, a controlled beam threaded. Through the Helios corridor, steady and narrow, a bridge no wider than trust itself. Liora exhaled. For the first time in years, the word peace didn't feel like wishful thinking. Kael'ren leaned close, voice low, glow brushing against her cheek. This cord will hold, if we hold it. She smiled, though her mind was already racing. Because treaties could be signed in a day, but keeping them alive? That would take a lifetime, and somewhere in the quiet, she could swear she felt the gateway listening. Chapter 12. The Conquered Spire, Nyxari Prime. The treaty had been signed only hours ago, yet the air still vibrated with its resonance. Outside the hall, the city shimmered. Towers of glasslight rising like frozen waves, each spire alive with the slow pulse of Nyxari breath. Somewhere above, orbital gardens drifted in perfect arcs, scattering prisms across the morning sky. Doctor. Liora Vance walked beside Kael'ren along a suspended walkway that curved around the spire's central atrium. Below them, waterfalls of liquid light cascaded into a basin of mirrored stone, carrying the ceremonial hum from the accord into the city's living architecture. But this path wasn't for sightseeing. Today, they were heading toward the bio-crossing chamber, the only place where human and Nyxari biology could be formally synchronized for multi-world residency. Her heart beat faster, not from the altitude, from the weight of what they were about to do. Kael'ren glanced at her, the threads of his glow shifting into a shade humans would call warm gold. You're thinking about the procedure? I'm thinking about the rules, she replied softly. Once we do this, there's no going back. He stopped at the archway to the chamber, his silhouette framed by the radiant patterns of Nyxari Prime. No going back is the point. Inside, the bio-crossing chamber felt almost alive. Transparent walls held drifting spores of bioluminescent data. In the center stood a platform lined with pulse lingua conduits, surrounded by memory vines coiled like watchful serpents. An attendant approached. Nyxari, tall, movements like a song in slow motion. Stand together, hands aligned, breath in rhythm. Liora took Kael'ren's hand. The contact was electric, his fibered glow curling along her skin. Her heart skipped, then stuttered, then settled into a rhythm that wasn't hers alone. The conduits lit, reading the union of two distinct biologies. The attendant's voice lowered. Synchronization confirmed. Dual residency authorized. A soft light blossomed between their joined palms. Within it, a small pulse. Neither, purely human nor purely Nyxari, flickered into existence, not life, not yet, but the seed of shared belonging. When the light faded, the chamber's memory vines absorbed the record, weaving it into both worlds' archives. Their bond wasn't just emotional now, it was codified, recognized by law, protected by the accord. Outside, the city's ambient hum shifted, barely perceptible. but Liora felt it in her bones. Word of their union was already moving through Nyxari Prime's living networks. On Earth, the EOC would receive the same signal within minutes. Kael'ren smiled, his glow returning to its usual cool silver. "You can go home whenever you want," he said. "You mean we can," she corrected. They stepped out into the daylight, and for the first time since she'd arrived in this world, Liora realized the walkway no longer felt like a bridge between two places. It felt like home. 37. Hecate B orbital array, 88 light-years from Earth. The station hung in the black like a frozen snowflake, its 6 arms stretched toward the void, each bristling with sensor spines and pulse relays. From here, the Helios corridor looked like a river of faint, shifting light, a cosmic artery connecting worlds that, until months ago, had been locked away from one another. Dr. Liora Vance floated inside the main observation ring, Kael'ren, anchored beside her, both secured by magnetic grips on their boots. Below them, the sensor arrays swept slowly, gathering data from passing drift ships and the faint gravitational waves rippling off the corridor's mouth. Professor Daoud Mirage's voice crackled over the comm. "Primary calibration is holding steady. You're cleared to sync the array with Asterion 3. Liora keyed the interface, her gloves brushing across a panel of projected glyphs, half human code, half Nyxari biolight. The pulse lingua algorithm translated each keystroke into a harmonic sequence that traveled through the array's core. Outside, a wave of soft luminescence rippled along the station's arms, firing into deep space. Kael'ren watched the transmission vanish toward the distant star Asterion 3, 1,120 light-years away. "When I was a child," he said quietly, "I thought our home was the only thread in the weave. Now, we're stitching whole galaxies together." The comm pinged again, a chime in 2 tones. "Signal relay active," Daoud confirmed. "Asterion 3 node is online. Data corridor fully open." Through the viewport, the corridor shimmered brighter. Not with light, but with connection. Streams of encoded resonance flowed between the nodes, navigational charts, cultural records, even heartbeat archives from both species for synchronization training. Liora exhaled, her breath fogging the inside of her visor for a moment. This isn't just observation anymore. It's a living network. Kael'ren tilted his head, the threads of his glow shifting into a rare teal. Nyxari awe. And like all living things, it can be wounded. We'll have to guard it. A soft tremor passed through the array as its auto-defense grid came online, a precaution agreed upon in the Khepri Treaty. Threnody drone clusters nested in the docking bays, ready to disrupt any hostile sync attempt. Above the defense field, the array's memory vines pulsed, recording every moment, every shift in the corridor's rhythm. The comms carried a brief burst of voices from Earth, then from Nyxari Prime, teams on both worlds monitoring the handshake between nodes. Liora could hear the subtle difference in their tones, the careful, clipped professionalism of the EOC, and the slow, resonant cadence of the Concord's coordinators. And yet, both sounded invested. Both sounded like they wanted this to work. The last data packet synced, Kael'ren reached over and tapped her wrist gently. "One more connection made," he said. "And 1,000 more to come," she replied. They drifted closer to the viewport, watching the faint silvery glow linking Hecate B and Asterion 3 stretch across unimaginable distances. For the first time, the Helios corridor didn't feel like a boundary between worlds. It felt like a promise. 12. The Conquered Spire, Nyxari Prime, 412 light-years from Earth. The chamber was quiet, save for the slow, deliberate hum of the resonance key core somewhere far below. Morning light from the twin suns spilled through the crystalline walls, scattering into webs of color that clung to Dr. Liora Vance's face. She stood before a Nyxari medical console, its translucent surface pulsing softly with her heartbeat. A small glyph glowed red. Arrhythmia detected. Kael'ren was beside her, the threads of his biolight shifting in muted gold. Concern. The Nyxari physician, a tall figure with vine-like neural braids coiled around their head, spoke in a low, melodic voice. With the implant, your rhythm will be permanent, synchronized, no more instability. The projection above the console shifted to show a model of Liora's heart, overlaid with Nyxari sync maps. She could see how the implant would lock her pulse into the Concord standard, a perfect, unwavering beat, safe, predictable. But she also saw the other map, the one Daoud had sent her last night. The jagged waveform of her faulty rhythm, the same irregularity that had, months ago, allowed her to bridge the gap between species. She swallowed. If I take it, I lose that. The physician's glow dimmed slightly. You would still be able to communicate, but not in the same untamed way. Kael'ren's gaze met hers. You've carried this burden your whole life, he said. And yet, she answered, it's the only reason the Khepri Accord exists. A silence settled between them. Beyond the glass, the vast city of the Concord spire curved upward into the sky, its towers connected by ribbons of light. Somewhere out there, Threnody drones patrolled. Data from Hecate B and Asterion 3 streamed across the corridor, and two civilizations dared to trust each other. She thought of the night at the Kong Khepri, when her erratic pulse had matched. Kael'ren's broken rhythm, slipping past the resonance key's rigid filters. A glitch in biology had opened the gate to peace. The physician touched the console again. A faint hologram bloomed, an image of her older self, years from, now free from the strain of arrhythmia. The model smiled without hesitation, healthy, steady. But the hologram didn't look like her. Liora stepped back from the console. If I fix myself, she said slowly, I erase the proof that imperfection can be the bridge. Kael'ren's glow deepened to a warm crimson gold, a Nyxari sign of deep respect. Then keep the bridge, he murmured. The physician hesitated, then inclined their head. It will mean monitoring and risk. Liora smiled faintly. So did everything worth doing. Her decision sent a ripple through the chamber's pulse network. The console dimmed, saving her existing biosignature as accepted variant. It would remain in the Concord's archives, a living reminder that sometimes harmony came from dissonance. She turned toward the window. The suns had shifted higher, painting the spire's towers in brilliant fire. Somewhere beyond them, the Helios corridor shimmered, and in its glow, she could almost hear a heartbeat that wasn't entirely hers. 46. Observation deck, Helios corridor relay, midway between Earth and Nyxari Prime. The deck was suspended. In silence, broken only by the faint harmonic thrum of the corridor itself, a ribbon of folded space stretching into eternity. Through the panoramic viewport, Dr. Liora Vance saw both ends of the impossible, one gateway arcing toward Earth, the other spilling light toward Nyxari Prime. The two pulses beat in visible sync, faint glimmers in the void, like the breath of a sleeping giant. Beside her, Kael'ren stood still, his filament light threads dimmed to a gentle silver. In the reflections on the glass, they looked almost human. Two figures, shoulder to shoulder, staring into an endless horizon. Behind them, Colonel Jareth Solon and Professor Daoud Mirage were deep in quiet conversation. Solon's usual hard edges had softened, his voice low but without the bite it once carried. Daoud gestured toward a hollow map of the new network, a web of controlled gates, each tuned to the shared biosync protocol now called the Khepri Standard. For the first time, in centuries, the Helios corridor was open, not as a weapon, not as a gamble for dominance, but as a shared artery between worlds. Liora let the quiet linger, letting the hum of the resonance keys wash through her chest. "It's strange," she said at last, voice soft. "Standing here, it's not about who's stronger anymore." Kael'ren tilted his head, the faint halo of his light warming. Strength was never the question. Endurance was. She turned to him. "Endurance?" "The willingness to hold rhythm when it falters," he said. "To wait through the offbeat, to believe the other will come back into time." She smiled at that. In every negotiation, every crisis, every near collapse, that was what they had done, endured each other's flaws long enough to find the next moment of sync. Colonel Solon stepped closer, his boots echoing against the deck's polished surface. "The accord signed. The gates will be monitored, but we all know. It's not the locks that matter. It's the people holding the keys." His gaze lingered on Liora and Kael'ren, an unspoken acknowledgement that their bond had become the proof that the two species could hold something fragile without breaking it. Daoud joined them, a data slate tucked under his arm. "The Conquered Council is calling it the most human treaty ever signed," he said with a faint grin, "even if half the signatories aren't human." Liora laughed under her breath. "Humanity's never been about species. It's the thing we do when the easy option is to stop trying, but we keep trying anyway." Kael'ren's biolight flickered in agreement. "Then perhaps I am a little human now." Outside, a passing cargo vessel shimmered through the gate toward Nyxari Prime, its hull painted with both EOC and Concord colors. The moment it crossed, the relay's sensors pulsed, recording another successful sync. No alarms, no threnody, interference, just movement. Steady, shared, alive. Liora thought back to the first time she had touched the resonance key with Kael'ren, when their mismatched pulses had confused the system into opening. It hadn't been strength or perfection that had unlocked it. It had been the refusal to give up trying to match, even when every beat felt wrong. She realized then that the true heart of the Accord wasn't the Khepri Standard, or the Gate Protocols, or even the political signatures. It was the acceptance. That difference wasn't an error to be erased. It was a source of resilience. Solon's comm pinged and he stepped aside to answer, his voice fading into the background. Daoud leaned against the railing, looking out over the infinite ribbon of the corridor. "You know," he said quietly, "centuries from now, someone will stand here and wonder how it was ever in question that we'd share it." "Maybe," Liora said, "but I hope they remember why it worked, not just that it did." Kael'ren turned toward her fully, the light from the corridor threading through his silhouette. "Because two worlds decided to keep time together," he said. Her chest tightened, not from the familiar irregular beat, but from the weight of knowing they had changed the trajectory of more than one future. Outside, the twin pulses of the gates shimmered again, perfectly out of step for half a second before falling back into rhythm. She smiled. She reached for Kael'ren's hand, their fingers, flesh and filament, intertwining against the glass. The corridor hummed on, carrying their shared rhythm across 412 light years, a signal to anyone listening. Humanity isn't the strongest. Humanity isn't the fastest. But humanity knows how to keep a beat with someone else's heart. And maybe that was the only key that ever mattered. The stars over the Helios corridor burned steady that night. For the first time in centuries, no warships patrolled its path. Dr. Liora Vance stood beside Kael'ren, their reflections merging in the glass of the observation deck. Two different heartbeats, one rhythm. The Khepri Gate pulsed with a gentle light, not as a weapon, but as a promise. Somewhere on Nyxari Prime, a child would grow up hearing stories of the day two worlds chose peace. Somewhere on Earth, another child would hear the same story. And perhaps they would meet, not as enemies, but as the next verse in a song that had just begun. Because peace is never the end. It is the opening line to something greater.